What's up, guys? In this video, I wanted to discuss 3 tips to getting recruited, getting on a coach's radar. Not necessarily getting a scholarship offer, that'll be a video for another time, but when you're just kind of starting the process, how do you get the attention of college coaches? So I've put out a ton of short form content on YouTube Shorts, TikTok in terms of recruiting, drills to do, all that kind of stuff, basketball, but I wanted to go a little bit longer this summer in terms of some of these videos to provide some educational value, some actual information in detail. So this is going to be the first one of this series for the summer, and that is, again, how to get on a coach's radar, how to get recruited. And the first step to this, I honestly believe, and my opinion has changed on it a little bit, I'll go into a little bit more detail in a second, but is playing on a competitive AAU or high school team. Now, or was the key word. I used to think back in the day that you had to be on both a really good AAU team and a really good high school team. My opinion has changed. I believe that if you are a good enough player, college coaches are going to find you regardless of where you are. Now, the word competitive is relative depending on who you play against, where you're from. There's different levels of competition, obviously all over the world. But essentially, are you playing in some setting where you're seeing the top players in your, not just your town, right? Not just a small town, but in your city, in your state especially. Are you getting an opportunity to go up against those players, whether it be, in all-star games in high school? Is it AAU tournaments within the state? Are you playing against the best players in that state? And if you're a pretty serious basketball player, you should know who those players are within your conference, within your district, within your state. So are you getting an opportunity at least once or twice a year, if it's high school, if it's playoffs maybe, and then at least once or twice a summer to get to go to those big time tournaments where college coaches are going to be at? The coaches are going to go to where the good players are regardless of the team that you're on. So again, being able to be on a good high school team where you're getting that exposure, and maybe you're the best player on your high school team, but you're still ending up playing against good competition, that's fine. As long as a college coach gets to see you, you're going to have an opportunity to get on their radar. Maybe it's the opposite. Maybe your high school team's loaded, you're coming off the bench, but you're still playing a decent amount of minutes. AAU, maybe you're on a weaker AAU team where you're standing out more. So now a college coach gets to see both settings. And as a coach, we love that. I love to see a kid play AAU and high school because it shows us how do they adapt to certain roles, how do they adapt with different players around them. Maybe they're showcasing certain skills that I didn't get to see in high school because they weren't playing as much in AAU. So it's awesome to get to see a player in different settings. So again, biggest thing for key number 1 is to make sure that either your AAU or high school team is traveling to the bigger tournaments, is playing against the best players in the state. Make sure that you're getting the proper exposure. That is tip number 1. Key number 2 to getting on the radar of college coaches is to make sure that you understand what skill or what it is that you do best so that college coaches are also able to see that and you're able to really showcase it. If you're a player right now and you don't understand what your strengths and weaknesses are, you don't have self-awareness to understand what your role is on your AAU or your high school team, you're going to be in trouble. You have to understand how to market yourself, especially when we get to emails, which is going to be the next tip after this, is to understand that you have to be able to have a selling point. What is the one thing that you do really, really well? Are you a knockdown shooter and that's your best attribute? Make sure that you're leaning into your strengths. You don't want to be somebody that's just average at a bunch of different skills. It's hard for a college coach to really go to their head coach and to have conviction and to try and sell you to their head coach about why you should offer or why we should be recruiting a kid who maybe doesn't have a specific skill that really stands out. And there's maybe a million of you on the court. But if you do something really well, whether it be shooting, you're a great defender, you're tenacious, you always are guarding the opposing team's best player, all of that stuff can go a long way. Make sure that you're getting great at the things you're already good at, as opposed to spending so much time on weak areas that might not honestly get all that much better. And understanding your role is a huge part of that. So if you're in an AAU team where your job is to shoot the ball and go in and make threes, make sure that the majority of your workouts are spending time doing that. From a college coach's perspective, we're looking at certain skills, certain intangible things that will complement one another as we're building a roster. So again, we might need a shooter in the class of 2024 or 2025, but in 2026, we might really need someone who can defend and push the ball in transition. So again, you want to be able to have skills that are noticeable, certain things that you do better than maybe everyone else on your team, and maybe that you can stand out in an entire game, ideally. That's something that's consistent, that if I show up at multiple games of yours, I'm going to know that this is exactly what this kid does really well, and I know she's consistent with it. Number 3 honestly builds right off of number 2 in terms of knowing where your strengths are, and that is being able to sell yourself through an email or a Twitter DM. And that's a hack right there. So many kids just send emails, and emails are great. I know I definitely try to look at as many of them as I possibly can and go through highlights. But Twitter DMs are the secret hack to where a lot of college coaches maybe aren't getting flooded in their DMs. Some are, I'm sure, but maybe they tend to be a little bit less crowded than emails. So I know for a fact, if I was a high school player right now, I would live in college coaches' Twitter DMs along with emails, but knowing that Twitter DMs maybe are a little bit less frequent, so they're going to be more likely to be seen. So again, Twitter DMs if you haven't already. Now, it's not just about sending the email or sending the Twitter DM, it's what is in the contents of that. What is the subject line? I know for me, I don't want to read 3 paragraphs about a kid that I don't really know yet. I will do it sometimes if I have time in the morning, but if you are short, succinct, and to the point, and have everything linked up for me right then and there, and it's easy for me to see it, click a button, watch a 2-3 minute highlight video, that is going to be the best way to get my attention. When I see paragraphs upon paragraphs of just kind of stuff jumbled in between that might not really be that important to a coach when they're kind of busy in the morning or busy during the day, it's going to be put to the back burner. I'll be like, oh, I'll get to this one later, because it's just intimidating seeing 3 paragraphs of stuff. So if I'm going to DM a college coach right now or email a college coach, in that subject line of the email, it's got to have my name, my position, and my year. Or maybe instead of your position, it's something you do really, really well. It's Jen Fay, sharpshooter 2026, right? So now as a college coach, I see that subject line. I know we're 2026. We're looking for a shooter. I see that, I'm more likely to click. So try to be short. Again, as the body of that email or the body of that Twitter DM, you do not need to list off every grade you've gotten in every class of world history when you were in 9th grade or 8th grade. Honestly, we don't care about that as much. Again, grades will come into it, but we want to make sure that you're able to play basketball before we spend too much time looking into all of the other stuff. Just being completely transparent. I want to see the first thing, of course, like I said, name, year, position, your skill set, maybe where you go to school, who you play for, and then I want to see links to at least 2 highlight videos or 1 highlight video and then some full game film. I don't want to have to track you back down for full game. Understand that a highlight is great, but it's a highlight. There's a lot more that happens in between those highlights. So make sure that you're also linking full games. Be smart about it too. Link a game that you played pretty well, because then at least if a coach watches a highlight and they're intrigued, okay, now I'm going to go to the full game and I like what I see, I'm more likely to put you on our list to make sure that we get to see you live that next tournament. Don't link a game where you didn't play well. Just be smart about that, right? Some common sense there. But again, keep it short, keep it sweet, and make sure that you are linking your best stuff in the email body and in the Twitter DM body. Let your film do the talking. Those are 3 tips that will help you get on the college coach's radar. Again, cannot guarantee that they're going to recruit you, but at least they'll take the time to ideally know your name, know who you are, and you'll have an opportunity to get seen. So if this video was helpful at all, make sure that you hit the like button, subscribe to the channel. I'm gonna try and bring a ton more content just like this of sit-down videos to the channel, and make sure that you drop questions below, comments below, anything that you want me to cover in more detail. So thank you guys for tuning in, and I'll see you in the next one.